This is every World War II-era paratrooper combat vehicle, from air-droppable motorcycles and light reconnaissance carriers to glider-delivered tanks and improvised assault transports. This catalog documents the complete spectrum of vehicles designed or adapted to fight alongside airborne forces. In total, these systems span multiple nations, doctrines, and levels of industrial maturity. Some represented forward-looking solutions to mobile airborne warfare, while others reflected urgent improvisation under operational pressure. Airborne operations impose strict physical limits on vehicle design. Weight, dimensions, and structural strength determine whether a system could be parachuted, slung beneath aircraft, or carried inside gliders. Within these constraints, armies attempted to provide airborne troops with mobility, firepower, and logistical support immediately upon landing, often in isolation from conventional forces. Airdrop light vehicles. The earliest category focused on vehicles capable of being parachuted directly into combat zones. These systems emphasized minimal mass, rapid assembly, and short-range tactical mobility. WWII MKI was a British air-droppable motorcycle intended to provide individual mobility for airborne troops, compact enough to fit inside standard parachute containers. It could be unfolded and made operational within minutes after landing. Operational use demonstrated limited off-road performance and minimal combat utility, and the design was quickly outpaced by larger transport solutions. Cushman Model 53 was an American airborne scooter developed to support U.S. paratroopers in the later stages of the war, designed to fit into cylindrical drop containers. It provided rapid personal movement for messengers and scouts. Its light construction limited durability in combat environments, restricting its operational lifespan. Glider-delivered utility vehicles. Glider transport allowed airborne forces to deploy heavier and more capable vehicles intact, landing them directly near objectives. This category formed the backbone of airborne ground mobility. Willys MB Jeep was adapted for glider delivery to support light airborne units, modified with reduced weight and folding windshields. It provided essential reconnaissance, command, and transport capability, although vulnerable to enemy fire. Its versatility made it one of the most effective airborne vehicles of the war. Ford GPW served alongside the Willys Jeep in airborne formations, sharing the same operational role and transport constraints. Glider landings often resulted in vehicle damage, but surviving units proved invaluable during early consolidation phases. Limited numbers prevented widespread availability during large-scale drops. Universal Carrier Airborne was a British tracked utility vehicle adapted for airlanding operations, capable of transporting personnel, weapons, or supplies. It provided improved cross-country mobility compared to wheeled vehicles. Its size restricted transport options, and it remained dependent on successful glider landings. German Airborne Light Transport. German airborne doctrine emphasized rapid seizure of objectives, supported by compact mechanized assets designed for glider delivery. SD.KFC to Kettenkrad was a tracked motorcycle originally developed for light towing and transport roles. Its compact dimensions allowed transport in gliders for Fallschirmjäger units. While mechanically complex, it provided superior off-road capability and saw extended service beyond airborne operations. Volkswagen Type 80 to Kübelwagen was occasionally delivered by glider to airborne formations, although not purpose-built for parachute forces. Its simplicity and reliability made it suitable for airlanding roles. Limited armor and payload restricted its combat application. Airborne reconnaissance vehicles. Reconnaissance platforms were critical for airborne forces operating without immediate armored support. These vehicles prioritized speed and communication over protection. M3A1 Scout Car Airborne variant was evaluated for limited airlanding use by Allied forces. Modified to reduce weight, it provided radio-equipped reconnaissance capability. Its size and vulnerability limited practical deployment in airborne assaults. T-38 amphibious light tank was employed by Soviet airborne units in experimental drops and airlanding operations, lightly armored and amphibious. It offered reconnaissance and fire support capability, combat losses and logistical challenges, curtailed its continued airborne use. T-40 light amphibious tank followed the T-38 in Soviet airborne experimentation, slightly improved in protection and armament. It remained vulnerable and difficult to deploy at scale. The evolving battlefield reduced its relevance by mid-war. Airborne light tanks, the most ambitious airborne vehicle category, evolved deploying tanks by glider, intended to provide immediate armored firepower to airborne troops. Light tank Mk7 Tetrarch was the British Army's primary airborne tank, designed to fit inside the Hamilcar glider. It provided a 2-pounder gun capable of engaging light armor and fortified positions. Limited armor and mechanical reliability restricted its effectiveness, and it saw only brief operational use. M20 Locust was an American light tank developed specifically for airborne deployment, transported by glider. It featured a 37mm gun and reduced armor to meet weight requirements. Operational use during late-war airborne operations revealed insufficient firepower and protection, leading to limited adoption. German airborne assault experiments. Germany explored armored support for airborne forces through experimental and improvised means rather than standardized production. Leichter Ladungsträger Borgward for airborne concept was evaluated as a remotely controlled demolition vehicle for airborne operations, while theoretically transportable by glider. Practical deployment proved unreliable. The concept remained largely experimental. Italian CV-33 airlanding use involved limited deployment of tankettes by glider or airstrip landing in support of airborne or rapid reaction forces. Extremely light armor and outdated design reduced combat value, production, and logistical limitations prevented systematic use, support, and logistics vehicles. Beyond direct combat roles, airborne operations required vehicles to move ammunition, casualties, and equipment under fire. Airborne trailers, British pattern, were designed to be towed by jeeps or carriers delivered by glider. These trailers increased logistical capacity without adding powered vehicles. Their survivability depended entirely on towing vehicle availability. German Einheitsanhänger Airborne use involved standard light trailers adapted for glider transport. These supported Fallschirmjäger units with ammunition and supplies. High loss rates during landings limited their overall impact. Late war and obsolete designs. As the war progressed, technological priorities shifted, and many airborne vehicle concepts became obsolete before widespread use. Vespa 150 TAP prototype concepts emerged late to influence World War II operations. Although post-war in service, the conceptual lineage reflected wartime airborne mobility requirements. These designs underscore the transitional nature of airborne vehicle development. Soviet T-60 airlanding trials explored the feasibility of delivering heavier light tanks by aircraft or glider. Weight and infrastructure constraints prevented operational deployment. The concept was abandoned in favor of conventional armored formations. This concludes the complete catalog of every World War II-era paratrooper combat vehicle, from compact motorcycles and utility transports to glider-borne tanks and experimental assault platforms. These systems illustrate the technological ambition and practical limits of airborne warfare. Collectively, they reflect an era defined by innovation under constraint, where industrial capacity, transport aircraft, and battlefield urgency shaped what could accompany soldiers descending from the sky.